Hello YouTube and welcome back for another video. This is a new series I am starting called Tales from the Squad Car featuring cop stories. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. A domestic violence call went out tonight. Dispatch advised that the victim fled from her home after being struck by her husband. The incident occurred at so-and-so address and the victim is now a family at so-and-so address. A unit arrived where the victim was now located and was advised that her husband had come home from a long night of drinking at Miami Beach and had become aggressive and struck her after she inquired as to why he could come home so late. The victim also mentioned that her husband was likely still at the scene with her 2 children. She also advised the officer that her husband was in possession of a newly purchased handgun. Once the officer advised dispatch of the newly found information, multiple units were dispatched in emergency mode, which means the lights and sirens were on, to respond to the home and check on the well-being of the husband and the children. While the units were en route, another call came in of shots fired within the apartment complex, which the incident location was located. The caller reported at least 8 shots fired. The first officer arriving announced that he was not hearing gunshots but would make entry as soon as the next units arrived. The field duty lieutenant advised the units not to make entry unless the situation became an active shooter situation. The field duty lieutenant then gave orders for a perimeter to be set around the apartment complex and called for an on-duty SWAT to arrive for a forced entry. While this may seem poor decision-making to some, our policy states that in the event of an active shooter, officers will make immediate entry and neutralize the threat. However, in the event of a hostage or potential situation, officers will hold a perimeter and wait for on-duty SWAT to respond. While on post, my partner turned to me and said, "If there were shots fired, why aren't the kids causing some sort of commotion?" I thought for a second before he answered his own question with, "I don't think they're still alive, man." Eventually, rumor began to circulate that the husband must have killed his kids and then himself after his wife took off. I stood there with my forearm in sole position, mortified at the thought of a murder-suicide situation. On-duty SWAT eventually arrived and held the air, prohibited radio transmissions, while they made entry into the home. It must have been the longest few minutes I've waited through before the SWAT team authorized the air to be reopened. The SWAT officers then exited the home with the husband in handcuffs and shouted to the crowd of officers standing by, "It's QRU," which means okay. The crowd was visibly relieved to hear that nobody was hurt. I eventually linked up with the lead SWAT officer who informed me that although they found casings on the ground, all the people inside were unharmed and sound asleep. Although the story may seem short, this took place over the course of 3 hours, and needless to say, it was worrisome 3 hours. I'm just glad everything turned out okay in the end.